Obviously, part of what we want to bring you this evening is some analysis of what this all means, the impact of the numbers. We want to check in with our Chris Costa. He is live with our News Center Maine political analysts tonight, Betsy Sweet and Garrett Mason. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Brian and Amanda. So one thing we wanted to focus on, because we know there's going to be a lot of national attention on a lot of the congressional races, obviously the presidential race. We want to focus on some of the local races here for the Maine House and Senate. So let's bring in Betsy and Garrett. And let's start with this race in District 88. It covers part of Auburn. And Garrett, you had said that this is actually going to be quite an important race.
Yeah, so Auburn is something we're going to look at all night long. There's multiple House races that are very important. There's a state Senate race that's going to be very important. This is actually retiring Rep. Kathy Shaw. She represents a more rural part of Auburn. This race is definitely one that Republicans want to pick up and one that they could pick up, especially considering the amount of resources going into Auburn.
I think we're going to see Auburn is going to be very telling because it has bounced back and forth over the years between Republicans and Democrats. So I don't know who's going to win this one.
All right, let's see if we can scroll to the next one here. District 37. So this is Searsport, Stockton Springs, and Winterport. What do you guys make of this matchup, Betsy?
Well, this is a matchup now between Scott Cuddy, who was out in the legislature before and is back. And I think a lot is about the port and what's going to happen with the port. I think Scott's going to take this race. I think this is going to be a pickup for the Democrats.
I think the other way. I think this is one of the most close races in the state tonight. Reagan Paul, first term. This is her second term she'll be running for. But the Sears Island controversy over in Searsport is going to be a huge piece of this race. Reagan Paul has been out front on that, talking about how that is a bad deal for Maine. The people of her district tend to agree with her. I think she's going to pick it up tonight, but it's going to be a narrow margin. We were out with Reagan today, and she felt very comfortable.
Okay, let's move on to the next here. This is District 92, so this is Green and Sabattis. Do you have any inclination on which way this might go?
So Steve Wood is a many-term legislator from Sabattis and Green. He does not have a Democratic opponent. He has Scott Jordan, who is an independent. This is right next door to my neck of the woods, and we've been watching this. Both candidates have been campaigning very hard, and it could be tighter than expected for Representative Wood, who's cruised relatively comfortably through elections in the past, but Scott Jordan has been working hard. So this will be an interesting one. I think it'll tell where Androscoggin County is headed for the night.
To not see a Democrat in this one, Betsy, makes you feel?
Well, I think that Steve has been there for a long time, and I think when Scott stepped up, I think he would caucus with the Democrats and leans more towards Democrats, but I think also understands the district. So I think it's going to be a very competitive race. I still would give the nod to Steve because I think he's, the incumbent has a lot, but Scott has been doing a lot, and I think, we're looking at next 2 years from now.
Right. You talked about your neck of the woods, so here we go. Your town is part of this, District 98. This includes Bowdoin, Durham, Topsom, and part of Lisbon. Betsy, any inclinations on this one right now about which way it could go?
I just think, I think Topsom and Bowdoin are really changing. We're seeing a much more Democratic concentration there. So I think this seat is going to be another tight one. I think it could go Democratic this time.
It's also what is referred to in redistricting as the junk district. So what that means is it floats around the state, and it's just the pieces of towns that don't fit. So there's no congruency of culture in towns. You have 5 different parts of towns, and so this is a really difficult one to pick. But I do think Hilton Webb might have the advantage here because Durham also has trended more left in the recent years. Guy Labita has taken out 2 Republican incumbents in primaries over the years and hasn't been able to pull it across the finish line. However, he has been campaigning aggressively in the district. This is going to be an interesting watch.
Let's wrap up here with the House. We have 3 more to go, so we'll go through them quickly here. We've got District 105. That's part of Gray and Yarmouth. What do we think of this one?
I think Annie Graham takes this. I think Yarmouth is much more progressive, and I think Gray again is also changing. A lot of Portland people have moved up there, and Susan Austin is been out. Annie is the incumbent there. I think Annie takes this.
This is a tough one for me. Sue Austin's one of the first people I met when I served in the legislature. I think everybody, to be honest with you. But they have both beaten each other.
Yeah.
So this is going to be very interesting. Sue is returning from terming out. Anne Graham came back after being beat by Sue Austin. So it really could go either way. I think it has trended left. It'll be an instinct of the night, right? So if Sue starts to pick up votes in places like North Yarmouth, you're going to see a more Republican trend towards that seat. But Anne probably does have the advantage here, but you can't count Sue out. She's won the seat many times.
Our last two districts are both part of Wyndham. First one is 106. You've got Barbara Bagshaw and Doris Poland. When we talk about Wyndham as a district, right, that's kind of another one similar to 98, where we're talking about Bowdoin, Durham, Thompson, where we have some parts of Wyndham that don't really, they do touch other communities, right? But this is a specific scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, we see some of that demographics changing. Doris is a very strong candidate. She is a union nurse. She's got a lot of people behind her. She's got a lot of power. She's had an incredible ground game. You know, Barbara is coming back. So I think, you know, I don't know. I think there's a shot that Doris takes this seat.
This Wyndham is going to be another seat like Auburn. Wyndham is a town in general that I'm going to be watching tonight. Barbara Bagshaw is facing a very tough race. She's the incumbent here. She's a former art teacher at Wyndham High School, so she has her own base in the community as well. This is one that I can't make an educated call on it right now because she is facing, Barbara Bagshaw is facing tremendous opposition, but she is a tough campaigner. So we'll see how this one shakes out. But it's gonna kind of paint the picture of Maine for the night.
Yeah, and it's interesting that both these women are tough as nails.
Yeah,
I mean, Doris, I wouldn't want to be up against Doris either.
The last one for the portion of Wyndham, and this is for the House, 107.
Yep. So I think Patrick Corey is an interesting addition to this race, former Republican, eight-year representative for the Republicans. He's now running as an independent. Mark Cooper is a farmer in Wyndham. And then you have the incumbent in Jane Pringle. Both are heavy, all three are heavy hitters in this race. And I think if Patrick Corey wasn't there, Mark Cooper would sail to victory here, but he makes the race interesting.
Yeah, and Jane is a physician, she's been an incumbent, and she has been effective doing a lot of constituent service. So,
when you take stock of all of the House races we've just gone through, what do you think this means for the balance of power in the Maine House?
I think we're going to see the Democrats retain control of the House. I think we're going to have a smaller margin in the House than we have had before, but I don't think it's going to be teeny. So I think we're going to just see, we're probably going to lose 2 or 3 seats, but I think we'll retain control of the House.
I agree with that. I think Republicans will inch upwards. There's a couple of seats that if things go really well for Republicans tonight, like a 2010 type version, that it's like, whoa, how did I get here? But you know, that, and it can happen. It has happened before.
It has.
But Wyndham is going to tell us a lot. Auburn's going to tell us a lot.
And Augusta.
Yep. Yes. Yep.
We only have 4 Senate races to go through at this moment, so let's go through them while we have you guys here. Whoops. Let's see if we can zoom back in. All right, so we're going to start in District 8. This is Penobscot County. You've got a progressive Democrat in Mike Tipping versus Leo Kenny. Any indications here?
It's a progressive district, and they've really tried to pull up a lot of dirt on Mike Tipping, and it's been ugly. But I think Mike pulls this out.
Is it because of his name recognition with Maine People's Alliance, or is it because of the constituency?
I don't think generally voters know about his Maine People's Alliance stuff, but I think he's got kids in the school system, and he's been a very good legislator for them. And so I think the transition from being an advocate to being a legislator, I think this is a tough one for Kenny to pull out.
You're smirking.
You brought my smile out, Betsy.
Okay.
I'm
glad it was her and not me.
I actually think Leo's got a chance here. You got to give the edge to the incumbent, obviously. That's just the way it works. But I think people do know about Mike's relation to the Maine People's Alliance and also his brother. But Leo Kinney, very well known in Orono, has both sides have put tremendous amounts of money into this race. Both sides see an opportunity. So I think this is another race we're going to be watching for the CD2 race. If Leo Kinney starts to pick up steam, that probably means Austin-Ontario is going to pick up speed.
But I also think there's a gender gap issue here because Mike was one of the people who shepherded paid family medical leave through the legislature. He gets a lot of credit for that. He was chair of the labor committee that did that. And I think for women especially and their families, it makes a big difference. So I think that's going to play in, and they've played that up quite a bit in this race.
Ready to move on?
Sure.
All right. 3 out of 4 here. This is number 15, so this is Kennebec County.
This is going to be a very tight race. I mean, Reagan.
It's going to be a fun one to watch.
Well, yeah, Reagan is amazing. She has been an incredible advocate. She's been a state rep, and she is well known in the community. Her parents are well known in the community. She's got children in the community, so she has been an outspoken. She's done a lot of work in recovery in the recovery community, and she has just been. And she is a tireless worker. She has been out knocking on doors with a whole team of people. So I think the ground game gives it to Reagan.
Okay, Garrett?
I think, Dick Bradstreet, this is a tough race for Republicans to retain. For the past 16 years, Republicans have held the seat, the
Yeah.
Augusta Senate seat, and really it's not a Republican district. Dick Bradstreet's trying to maintain that tradition. It's going to be tough for him, but like I said, you have heavy play for Austin in CD2. That could help Dick Bradstreet. His daughter is Amy Arata, the assistant Republican leader, so I'm sure he has had a lot of help from both sides of both the House and the Senate. I think Dick he's got an uphill climb, but he's got a shot just because of a couple of things that are working in his favor.
All right, some of those intangibles maybe. Let's see if we can do on to the next one. Okay, this is 20. This is Androscoggin County. 3 here.
Well, this is this Auburn seat, right? So, I don't know how Dustin's entry plays into this. Betty Ann was the state rep there, and then she lost, and so she's back in. So, and Bruce has been around for a while. So, I don't know. I think again, this is one to watch. This is going to tell us a lot about how the state's going to go, how the CD2 congressional district's going to go. I don't know Dustin Ward well, but his entry into it, I think, maybe I don't know. I don't know if he pulls votes away from Betty Ann Sheets, and then that leaves it for Bruce. I don't know.
Polling showed that that we've seen showed him somewhere between 5 and 6% of the vote, which is definitely enough. And we do think it's coming from Betty Ann Sheets' vote tally that it could put Bruce over the top. Bruce and Betty Ann both have lost in Auburn,
yes.
And they both won. And so it is going to be an interesting race. It's going to tell us so much. But Bruce Bickford, I think he's got the edge here, especially if Austin Theriault can cut into Jared Golden's Auburn lead. If that's around 800 to 1,000 votes, you're going to see a Senator Bickford.
Yeah, and I also think again we're going to see how the gender gap plays here, because I think it might make a difference. If we see women turn out heavily in this race overall, and not this race in elections overall, then it gives the edge to Betty Ann.
Let's get to the last one, and then we have the flag question we want to get to as well. Let's see if we can pull this across. There we go. District 26 is Cumberland County. Actually, Westbrook is part of this one.
Yes. So this is part of Wyndham. This is one of the ones that's going to tell the story of the state. Kenny Chinquette owns a business in Wyndham. Tim Nangle is pulling from Westbrook. That Westbrook seat makes it very, very difficult to win this district for Republicans. However, you can't miss the last name there, Chinquette. Chinbro, the Chinquette family, Peter Chinquette, former ambassador, former candidate for governor. So you have that name ID going really strong for him, and also being a business owner in Wyndham. That this is going to tell a lot. Don't know where this is going to head, but it'll tell the story of the state.
Yeah, and I think Tim, he's the incumbent, and it's going to be a tough race. But I think that the Westbrook, and just from the news coverage today of looking at the lines of voters going into Westbrook, it's a heavy turnout in Westbrook. That favors Tim.
And part of that might be Westbrook Community Center being the only polling location
for Westbrook
for the entire
Absolutely.
city. So a lot to navigate there as we get close to 20. We're about 26 minutes away now, officially, from polls closing at 8 o'clock. So we are going to get back with Betsy and Garrett in just a moment. Let's send things back to Brian and Amanda at the desk.